Let's face it, Hollywood has ran out of ideas. The evidence is all the sequels, reboots, movies based off books, and of course, remakes. There are a lot of remakes, but there are plenty to choose from that are bad. But that doesn't mean that all of them are bad. So to be fair, I'm going to look at the top 5 best and worst remakes. Before we can begin, what can you call a remake? A remake is a movie that's based off another movie that was original. So I can't put John Carpenter's The Thing as one of the best or The Day the Earth Stood Still as one of the worst because they're either based off a book or a short story. So let's look at what the best remakes have to offer. Number 5. The Wolfman. It was cool seeing an R-rated mainstream monster movie in a while, and a breath of fresh air from other abomination of movies at the time. I love that this Wolfman is mostly makeup. It may not be as good as the original, but it's pretty decent. Number 4. The 2014 remake of Godzilla. We quite didn't get it right back in 1998, but we sure got right this year. I love the design on Godzilla and his roar. Number 3. Scent of a Woman. What many people don't know is that this is a remake of an Italian movie from the 70s. It's a mix of a serious and lighthearted tale of a college student chaperoning a blind man. It's easily one of my favorite movies with Al Pacino, and a lot better than other movies that Chris O'Donnell would be in later in his career. Number 2. Peter Jackson's King Kong. This remake gets it right by taking place in the 1930s like the original. It may be way too long, but it has better character development than the original and many cool CGI spectacle scenes to go along. And the number 1 best remake of all time is The Mummy. The original is a good movie in its own right, but the remake from 1999 is the only remake that I consider superior to the original. It still has some horror elements from the original, but adds an action, comedy, and romance to this amazing movie. It's a shame that they're gonna remake it again. But now the time has come for me to talk about the worst remakes ever made. Trust me, there were plenty to choose from. Number 5. Fright Night. This one may have been well received from critics, but as a fan of the original, I highly disagree. The casting was wrong, the location was wrong, and on top of that, it didn't have any of the great pacing that the original had. Number 4. The 1970s remake of King Kong. We definitely didn't do a remake of King Kong back in the 70s properly. This contemporary take has many sins, such as not having any dinosaurs in it. Also, the climax is very anticlimactic where King Kong just gets gunned down by helicopters. Number 3. The Ring. Yet another movie that critics liked, but I didn't. Even if you haven't seen the original, this one is one long, boring, and not very scary remake. Number 2. Clash of the Titans. I know it's loosely based off the Greek story of Perseus, but it's more based off the original from the 80s. The 2010 remake contains bad acting and the CGI leftovers from 300, not to mention that it has been noted as having one of the worst 3D conversions of all time. And the number 1 worst remake of all time is... It's a tie between Halloween and Halloween 2. Out of all the so-so remakes of slasher films, the Rob Zombie remakes of Halloween and Halloween 2 is actually worse than the last 2 Halloween movies from the first series. It has bad storytelling, run-of-the-mill slasher victims, and all around just bad directing. After butchering up 2 well-known movies, Rob Zombie really needs to stick to his day job.